Richard Kenneth Djerf, now 55 years old, has spent nearly 3 decades on Arizona's death row, his life confined to a cell at Arizona State Prison Complex-Florence. His execution is set for October 17, 2025, a date that looms just weeks away. But to understand how he ended up here, facing the ultimate punishment, we must rewind to the beginning. A story of isolation, rage, and a path that led to unspeakable tragedy. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more gripping crime stories. Leave a comment below. Where are you watching from? What's running through your mind as this case unfolds? Your thoughts matter. Richard Kenneth Djerf was born on November 6, 1969, in a working-class neighborhood in Phoenix, Arizona. Little is publicly documented about his family life, but what emerges paints a picture of a boy who often felt like an outsider, described as a loner by those who knew him. Richard grew up in a world where connections seemed elusive. His parents' circumstances are murky, with no clear record of their professions or stability, but the environment he was raised in didn't offer much warmth or guidance. There's no verified evidence of abuse or extreme poverty, yet the absence of strong family bonds left a mark. He was a kid who kept to himself, navigating life with a quiet intensity that few noticed. Richard's childhood wasn't marked by dramatic upheaval, but it had its struggle. School records are scarce, but those who crossed paths with him at the time noted he wasn't a standout student, neither excelling nor failing, just drifting through. He attended local schools in Phoenix, blending into the background, with no mention of academic achievements or deep friendship. By his teens, there were hints of trouble. He wasn't the kid starting fights in the schoolyard, but his reserved nature hid a growing resentment. Small acts of rebellion, like skipping classes or clashing with authority figures, started to surface, though nothing serious enough to land him in juvenile court. These were early cracks in a foundation that would later crumble. In January 1993, Richard Djerf, then 23, was working as a night custodian at a Safeway supermarket in West Phoenix, Arizona. There he met Albert Luna Jr., and the two formed a brief friendship, but this bond shattered when Djerf's Glendale apartment was burglarized. Among the stolen items were a television, a VCR, stereo equipment, a car alarm, and most alarmingly, an AK-47 rifle. Djerf suspected Luna was the thief and reported it to the Glendale police, expecting justice. Days turned into weeks, then months, with no arrests or progress. The police's inaction gnawed at him, fueling a growing obsession with revenge. His sense of betrayal festered, transforming into a cold, calculated plan. Why did the police do nothing? What would push Djerf to take matters into his own hands in such a horrifying way? By September 1993, 8 months after the burglary, Djerf's anger had hardened into something monstrous. He didn't just want his belongings back, he wanted to make Luna pay. But Luna wasn't his only target. Djerf's rage extended to Luna's entire family, who had no part in the theft but would bear the weight of his vengeance. On the morning of September 14, 1993, Djerf prepared meticulously. He armed himself with a 9mm Beretta handgun, handcuffs, tape, and a bouquet of artificial flowers, a chilling prop for his deadly ruse. His plan was set, and the Luna family's home at 7200 West Monte Vista Road in West Phoenix would become a scene of unimaginable horror. On September 14, 1993, at around midday, Djerf approached the Luna family's modest home in the Maryvale neighborhood of Phoenix, posing as a flower delivery man. Patricia Luna, 40, a loving mother and homemaker, answered the door, unaware of the danger behind the artificial bouquet. Djerf pulled his 9mm handgun and forced his way inside, immediately taking control. Patricia's 5-year-old son, Damien, was home, his small frame no match for the armed intruder. Djerf's first act was to force Patricia to load valuables, electronics, jewelry, and household items into the Luna family's car, a cruel echo of the theft he believed her son had committed. Then he bound Patricia and Damien to kitchen chairs with tape, gagging them to stifle their plea. He taunted Patricia, asking where Albert Luna Jr. was, and in a sadistic twist, whether she or her young son should die first, forcing her to endure the terror of that choice. The emotional weight of a mother powerless to protect her child is unimaginable. Her fear and desperation filled the air of that quiet kitchen. At approximately 3:00 p.m., Rochelle Luna, 18, the family's bright and hopeful daughter, returned home from her. Djerf, still in control, took her to her bedroom, where he bound her to the bed with tissue paper and tape. What followed was a horrific act of violence. Djerf raped Rochelle, then stabbed her repeatedly, slashing her throat. Her life ended in terror and pain, alone in her own room. Djerf returned to the kitchen, and with chilling cruelty, told Patricia he had what he had done to her daughter. The anguish of a mother hearing such news while bound and helpless, knowing her young son was next to her, defies comprehension. How could one person inflict such deliberate suffering? Around 4:00 p.m., Albert Luna Sr., 46, a hard-working father, arrived home. Djerf forced him at gunpoint to crawl to another bedroom, a degrading act meant to strip him of dignity. There Djerf handcuffed him to a bed, and smashed his head with an aluminum baseball bat, believing he had killed him. But Albert Sr. wasn't dead yet. In a desperate act of courage, he broke free and charged into the kitchen, stabbing Djerf with a pocket knife. A struggle ensued, but Djerf, stronger and armed, overpowered him and shot him dead. The fight of a father trying to save his family, only to fall, adds another layer of heartbreak to this tragedy. Djerf returned to the kitchen, where Patricia and Damien remained bound. His earlier attempts to kill Damien by snapping his neck and electrocuting him had failed, a grim testament to his cruelty. Now he ended their lives with cold precision, shooting both Patricia and Damien in the head. The kitchen, once a place of family meals and laughter, was now a blood-soaked crime scene. The bodies of a mother and her young son slumped in chairs, their lives stolen in an act of vengeance that spared no one. Djerf's final act at the scene was an attempt to erase his crime. He doused the bodies in house with gasoline, turned on 2 kitchen stove burners, and placed a pizza box and rag on the stove to ignite a fire. The Luna family's home was meant to burn, hiding his atrocity, but fate intervened. The fire didn't catch, preserving the gruesome evidence of his rampage. Djerf fled in the Luna family's car, loaded with their stolen belongings, leaving behind a house of horrors that would scar the community forever. The Luna family's murders shook Phoenix to its core. Albert Luna Sr., Patricia, Rochelle and little Damien were a close-knit family, living a simple life in Maryvale. Their deaths were not just a loss, but a violation of everything they stood for: love, hope and togetherness. The horrific murders of the Luna family, Albert Luna 46, Patricia Luna 40, Rochelle Luna 18, and Damien Luna 5, were discovered on the night of September 14, 1993 when Albert Luna Jr., the family's eldest son, returned to their West Phoenix home at 7. He had been anxious after numerous unanswered calls to the house throughout the day. Walking into the home, he was met with a scene of unimaginable horror. His parents and siblings were dead, bound, beaten, and shot in a blood-soaked kitchen and bedroom. Albert Jr. immediately fled to his girlfriend's house and called the Phoenix police, who arrived to find a crime scene that detectives later described as one of the most brutal they'd ever seen. What clues would this gruesome scene reveal about the kill? The investigation moved swiftly, led by Phoenix police detectives like Francesca Garcia and Steve Lewis. The crime scene yielded a wealth of forensic evidence. The 9mm Beretta handgun used to shoot Albert Sr., Patricia and Damien was a critical piece, later recovered from Djerf's apartment. Ballistics tests confirmed the bullets and casings found at the Luna home matched this weapon. Blood evidence was everywhere, on the walls, floors and furniture, showing the ferocity of the attacks. Albert Sr.'s blood was found in the master bedroom, where he'd been beaten with an aluminum baseball bat, and Rochelle's blood was in her bedroom, where she was raped and stabbed. The medical examiner's report detailed Rochelle's multiple stab wounds, including 4 to the chest and a slit throat, and confirmed the sexual assault, though specific DNA evidence tying Djerf to the rape isn't detailed in available record. However, Djerf's own confession to the rape later solidified this link. Other physical evidence was equally damning. Police found black electrical tape and rope, used to bind Patricia and Damien, matching items later seized from Djerf's possession. A red fuse cord, artificial flowers and a vase, used in Djerf's flower delivery ruse, were recovered from his apartment and motel room. Stolen items from the Luna home, including 2 VCRs, a stereo CD player, a caller ID unit, watches, Rochelle's charm necklace, Patricia's car keys, a telephone, loose change and food stamps, were found in Djerf's apartment and car, directly tying him to the burglary aspect of the crime. Perhaps most chilling was a handcuff key and a newspaper clipping about the murders found on Djerf at his arrest, suggesting he was keeping a memento of his actions. Could this arrogance be what brought him down? Djerf's prior criminal history, while not extensive, strengthened the case. As a teenager at Independence High School in Glendale, he had been arrested once for shoplifting and twice for extorting money from fellow students, showing a pattern of petty criminal behavior. More crucially, his January 1993 burglary report to Glendale police, where he named Albert Luna as the suspect who stole his electronics and AK-47 rifle, established a clear motive for the murders. Luna Jr.'s later confession to this burglary during Djerf's trial confirmed the bad blood between them, giving prosecutors a narrative of revenge gone horribly wrong. The forensic evidence, combined with Djerf's own admissions to his girlfriend and friends, created an airtight case. But would Djerf try to deny his guilt? Initially, Richard Kenneth Djerf offered a weak alibi to cover his tracks. On September 14, 1993, after the murders, he met his girlfriend, Emily Boswell, at his apartment around 6 p.m., bleeding from a stab wound inflicted by Albert Luna Sr. during the struggle. Djerf lied, claiming he'd been attacked by two men trying to rob him, a story he used to explain his injury when Boswell drove him to St. Joseph's Hospital for treatment. This alibi quickly unraveled. On September 15, Djerf confessed to Boswell that he had murdered the Luna family, describing the killings in graphic detail and calling the blood dripping from Patricia's gunshot wound really awesome. He repeated these boasts to friends Travis Webb and Daniel Greenwood, reveling in the violence. One of these friends, horrified by Djerf's admissions, tipped off the Phoenix police on September 18, leading to his arrest at a motel. His attempt to pin the stab wound on imaginary robbers collapsed under the weight of his own confessions and the physical evidence. Djerf's trial process was unusual because he chose to represent himself, a decision that raised eyebrows. On February 15, 1995, he fired his appointed attorneys Michael Vaughn and Alan Simpson, and moved to act as his own counsel. At a February 23 hearing, the court found his waiver of counsel to be voluntary, knowing and intelligent, allowing him to proceed pro se with Vaughn and Simpson as advisory counsel. After Djerf's suicide attempt in custody, slashing his wrists with a makeshift shank from a Halloween card's electronic parts, the state requested a Rule 11 competency evaluation on March 7. Jack Potts conducted a pre-screening and deemed Djerf competent, and the court denied a full competency hearing, affirming Djerf's ability to represent himself. Why would a man facing such grave charges insist on defending himself? On August 16, 1995, Djerf made a stunning move. He accepted a plea agreement, pleading guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Albert Luna Sr., Patricia Luna, Rochelle Luna, and Damian Luna. In exchange, the state dropped additional charges of burglary, kidnapping, sexual assault, aggravated assault, attempted arson, theft and weapons misconduct. The plea deal explicitly stated that sentencing was open, meaning Djerf could still face the death penalty. During the plea hearing, the court informed Djerf of the rights he was giving up and reaffirmed his competency based on Dr. Potts's report. Djerf's guilty plea meant no jury trial occurred, sparing the Luna family and the public a grueling courtroom battle, but also raising questions. Was he trying to control the narrative, or did he genuinely regret his actions? Sentencing took place on May 22. Ryan in Maricopa County Superior Court. Prosecutors William K. Culbertson and Paul W. Abler presented aggravating factors. The murders were committed for pecuniary gain, stealing the Lunas' belongings, in an especially heinous, cruel and depraved manner, involved multiple homicides and included a child victim, Damian. Djerf offered no mitigating factors, though he later claimed remorse, telling an Arizona Republic reporter in 1995, "It was all my fault. All my fault. I'm not crazy. I don't hear voices. I didn't have a terrible childhood. I just did what I did." The judge found the aggravating factors overwhelming and sentenced Djerf to death for each of the 4 murders. Djerf's response was chilling. "They can only kill me once." The Arizona Supreme Court affirmed the convictions and sentences on May 20. Supreme Court denied certiorari, sealing his fate. Richard Kenneth Djerf has spent nearly 3 decades on Arizona's death row, confined at the Arizona State Prison Complex-Florence, a fortress-like facility in the desert, where the state houses its most dangerous inmates. Now 55, Djerf's life behind bars has been marked by isolation and routine, a stark contrast to the violent rage that led to the 1993 murders of the Luna family. Described as a loner before his crimes, Djerf carried that trait into prison. According to one of his former defense attorneys, he spends much of his time in his cell drawing professional quality, self-satirizing cartoons, a creative outlet that paints an enigmatic picture of a man capable of such brutality. Does this artistic side hint at a deeper complexity, or is it just a way to pass the endless days? Djerf's behavior on death row has been remarkably clean. Prison records show no disciplinary infractions, a rare feat for someone in such a high-security environment. The Florence Complex's death row, known as the Browning Unit, is a place of stark confinement. Small cells, limited movement, and constant surveillance. Inmates like Djerf are locked down for 23 hours a day with 1 hour for exercise or shower. Meals are slid through a slot in the cell door, and interactions with others are minimal. Djerf's lack of trouble suggests he's adapted to this rigid world, keeping to himself and avoiding conflict with guards or inmates. Guards, who volunteer for death row duties, describe the environment as tense but orderly, with inmates like Djerf rarely causing disruptions. Yet his quiet demeanor raises questions. Is he truly reformed, or simply biding his time? On remorse, Djerf's record is in a 1995 jailhouse interview with Arizona's family, he admitted, "I screwed up a lot lives," and said he was absolutely sorry for what he did. He reiterated this to an Arizona Republic reporter, claiming, "It was all my fault, I just did what I did." But his words carry a chilling edge. In the same 1995 interview, when asked if killing was easy, he replied, "After it started, yeah," and bragged to friends about the murders being really awesome. This duality, public remorse, paired with private boasts, casts doubt on his sincerity. During his trial, the judge found his expressed remorse insufficient, noting the heinous nature of the crimes outweighed any regret. Did Djerf truly feel the weight of his actions, or were his words a calculated plea for leniency? There's no public evidence that Djerf turned to religion, unlike some death row inmates who find solace in faith. Instead, he focused on legal battles, exercising his right to self-representation. Djerf pursued multiple appeals, challenging his death sentences through state and federal court. His final appeal was dismissed by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on July 24. His insistence on self-representation, a rarity in capital cases, became a legal footnote, often cited as a cautionary tale of the risks of foregoing counsel. As Djerf's execution date of October 17, 2025 approaches, his final days will follow Arizona's strict death row protocols, designed to ensure a methodical process, while carrying the weight of finality. In the weeks leading up to the date, Djerf will likely be transferred to a special holding cell, near the execution chamber at Florence's central unit, known as the Death House. This cell is smaller, with even tighter security, where he'll be under 24-hour watch to prevent suicide attempts. A precaution rooted in his 1995 wrist-slashing incident. He'll meet with his legal team, though with all appeals exhausted, these visits may focus on last-ditch clemency pleas to Governor Katie Hobbs. A March 2025 cyber attack on the Federal Public Defender's Office lost key documents, prompting his lawyers to request a delay in the execution warrant, but the Arizona Supreme Court denied it. Could a last-minute legal maneuver still change his fate? Djerf will also have opportunities to meet with family or a spiritual advisor, though no records confirm close family ties or religious affiliation. Arizona allows death row inmates to request visits from loved ones, or clergy, and Djerf may choose to see someone to offer final words, or seek comfort. Media outlets can request interviews with him starting August 19, 20. His last meal, the tradition in Arizona executions, will likely reflect common choices, perhaps something like fried chicken, pizza, or a favorite dish from his past. Inmates typically order comfort food, a small act of agency in their final hour. What would a man like Djerf choose to eat, knowing it's his last? On October 17, 2025, Djerf is scheduled to be executed by lethal injection, Arizona's primary method since the Arizona Department of Corrections has confirmed a sufficient supply of pentobarbital, tested for quality and sterility, with results shared with Djerf's attorneys. The process is clinical but heavy with gravity. Djerf will be led to the execution chamber, a sterile room with a gurney and a one-way window for witnesses. He'll be strapped down, arms extended as medical staff insert IV lines. The pentobarbital will flow, stopping his heart within minutes. Witnesses including media, prison officials and possibly the Luna family will watch in silence, their presence a reminder of the lives Djerf took. Arizona's history of botched executions, like Joseph Wood's 2-hour ordeal in 2014, looms large, but officials insist the process is now refined. Will it go smoothly, or could complications cast another shadow? The uncertainty of the execution hangs heavy. Arizona's death penalty system has faced scrutiny, with an 8-year hiatus after 2014 and a 2023 moratorium by Governor Hobbs to review procedure. Despite these reforms, Djerf's execution could still face a last-minute stay if new legal issues arise, such as challenges to the pentobarbital's efficacy, or a clemency plea gaining traction. For the Luna family, particularly Albert Luna Jr., who lost his parents, sister and brother, the execution may bring closure or reopen old wounds. The weight of this moment for Djerf, the victim's loved ones, and the system itself is undeniable. Will justice be served, or is it ever truly possible after such loss? What do you think about Djerf's time on death row, and the looming execution? Should his clean prison record,
or past remorse sway opinions, or do his crimes demand the ultimate price? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.